Huh? Oh, what? I know, right? Yes. Who's all in here? I'm gonna have two people. Okay, if you don't show up, it's gonna be crazy. Oh no, wait. Hold on, Lashonda. Or no, pause, pause. Well, both of y'all. It doesn't matter. How does this work? Like to make sure that it doesn't like echo. I just turned off the mic here, but I need the mic for the Zoom.
Oh.
You get what I'm saying?
Mhm. Oh Lord. Oh, maybe she didn't mean to call me. Am I?
where a biased motive is evident, but it's not necessarily criminal. So the things that we might see more day to day here, like jokes, stereotyping, ridicule, those types of things. Okay, next up is a hate crime. So a hate crime is a biased incident that occurred that has risen to a criminal level. Okay, so thinking about that, there's a simple math equation down here. So a crime plus a motivation of bias is a hate crime. So things like physical violence against somebody based on one of their social identities. Acts of vandalism, which is the #1 form of hate crime that occurs in the United States. Does anyone think they might know why? Acts of vandalism are the, like, by law, acts of vandalism are the highest number. Yeah.
Spray painting? Like,
Yeah, like things like spray painting, absolutely. That's a form of vandalism, right?
would it be anonymous?
Yes, I like to say that, vandalism are things like statement crimes, they're crimes of opportunity. And so those occur where you don't necessarily have to be accountable for your actions or make it a release. Right? You might see something and you might edge something on a residence hall room door, or draw something here in the EUC where you don't have to be accountable for the hate that you are sharing. Absolutely. So why does this matter? Of course, you as leaders in student government know that we value all members who are part of our community, no matter what their identities are. And so that's something that is from an institutional level. That's not something from our bias team. That's something that the institution has made a conscious effort in trying to do. So does bias exist on campus? A quarter of our students in the last I Belong survey, which was conducted in 2019, right before COVID hit, which seems like 18 years ago at this point. You had about a quarter of the students say that they sometimes experience bias, and that students reporting that they have these others experience bias, about 10%. Now, where we are right now is a lot different than where we were in 2019. Right? So we are administering this survey again this year. So that is coming through a different office, and that will be at some point. I'm not quite sure when it's going to be released, but when it does, I definitely want to encourage you to take it, so that we can have a greater understanding about the lived experiences of your experiences here on campus, and so that we can use this data to inform our work of supporting. So that kind of leads me into the bias education and support. So this team was created in I think 2020, and it was a charge from the leadership in the Student Affairs Division here on. And so they worked to begin all this process. They then hired me. I just got here in March, so I'm relatively new in this world. And so what I do is I help facilitate and lead our efforts through our live education. So a little bit about what our team does. So first, we do things like what I'm doing right now. We educate the campus community on the impacts of bias and hate. We're able to respond to bias incidents that we receive. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the reporting structure after this. We support students who are impacted by bias. So bias incidents, right, have a far reach. So let's say that swastika was etched in a residence hall room. Okay. Who might be impacted by that? The person whose room it was probably, right? Maybe people on that hallway, but also anybody who identifies as Jewish on campus might be impacted by that. So the incidents that occur, whether it's like really big or really small, have a really wide impact on how folks are affected. And so we work to identify who was affected by that harm and figure out what can we do to best support students and restore the harm that was done. We also keep annual statistics, a record of how many incidents we receive, and then report that information out. But we're not a judicial body, Now, if a report is shared with us where something is not congruent with, student code of conduct, we would share that information with OSRR, but our team specifically, we just focus on providing support to those who were affected. We're not policing speech or anything like that, we're just providing support. So, if you're interested in learning how to access the report, I have a QR code here, but you can also go to the Medina Students website, which is where that form lives. And I'm going to next show you a little bit about what that form entails. So, first, I want to make sure that you know that it can be anonymous, but as you can imagine, if you don't share information about who we follow up with, it kind of limits our scope in terms of our response. So we encourage folks to share their contact information so that we can begin to follow up and learn a little bit more. Maybe we might have some questions about that. So you'll just kind of do your information. So the first part, very easy. Second part is you'll name any parties involved. Maybe you know who was involved. Maybe you don't know. Maybe it's a student. Maybe it's a club. Maybe it's a class. So whoever is a part of the party who has additional parties, and just provide as much information as you can. We can help fill in the rest. Next up, we'll talk about reasons for report. So what did you observe? What was the act of bias? Was it physical attack, teasing, email discrimination, bullying, verbal assault, written slurs, things like that? So you would categorize that there. And then what was the nature of the bias? What type of group was harmed by the consent? And then you'll give a quick narrative of what happened from your perspective, and answer was there any other agencies that responded, and then you can click whether you want us to follow up or not. Maybe you just wanted to report it and say, we want you to include this in your annual statistics, but I don't want you to contact you. That's okay. And we'll respect that. Maybe you might want to come to us later, and we can always continue that conversation. Or you can say, yeah, I would like to be contacted, in which case I'll talk to you a little bit about our work next. The last part that we have is, what's the desired outcome? What do you hope might result from this? And we've gotten some, we've gotten some reports where, a student will say, well, I want that professor to fire, or I want that club removed from campus, or we don't have the ability to do that. We want to talk a little bit about our scope of our work, but what we can do is we can invite folks to the table sometimes what happens, to try to utilize some of our restorative justice techniques that we use to work to restore the harm that was done. Those are the things that we can do. We can inform different processes and procedures, and we've already done that around campus, to try to make different processes and procedures more equitable. So those are the things that we can do. But that's what I would lead into when I review the reports, and what is the outcome that you're looking for? So that can kind of give us an idea of, that's a great idea, maybe we can try to see what we can do. So, ways to use the report. First is I would say bring in one, right? If you feel that you have witnessed or been a victim of, or know somebody who's a victim of bias intent that you would like to uplift to us, we welcome those reports. If the bias that you experience or somebody you know experienced has negatively impacted their time here on campus, and if you wish to engage in that process, we want to encourage you to utilize our report section. So when you submit the report, I think it's important for all of you to know who does the report go to. It goes to the e-sign folks up here. So it goes to folks in the Medina Student Office where I work. And then will see that we have a multidisciplinary group that represents YE, students, when we make those hires, SSL, Title IX, faculty. So it's a pretty diverse group of folks. What we do is we work to follow up. So those are the folks that receive the reports. And here's a little bit about our workflow. So we'll receive the report, we'll get the media, and pick back the email saying that we received it. And then what we do is we break into groups of like 2 or 3, and then we follow up. I assign a case to a group or a team, and they follow up. And they work with the students to submit the report and work with that person throughout. Then at the end, we'll work to follow up and try to find some form of resolution. That can look in a lot of different ways, depending on the nature of the report. And then at the end, the students who submit the report will receive a final follow-up, and we'll provide as much information as we can about what our steps were and what our follow-up. So, some actions can include different forms of reflection, sharing information, restorative conversations, and different ways to inform policy. So, we talked about, hate crimes and things like that, that might not be as prevalent as things that we see day to day, things like jokes, stereotyping, and ridicule. And so I want all of you to be able to take with you a strategy that you can use. But if you hear somebody say something on campus that you don't think reflects the values of our community, of what you can do, and it's called maybe stop it. Hopefully have a little reason to it so you can remember it. But the first thing that you would do is, so say somebody says something that is harmful, right? The first step of what you would do is you would say, hey, did you say or whatever they said? That's for two reasons. One, you're clarifying what they said. If you're about to call them in, you want to make sure that you're calling them out on what you heard correctly. And then two, kind of political, because it allows you to craft your response, right? If you don't wake up every morning and say, it's 12 p.m., someone's going to say something, right? And then you have to be ready, right? It happens in the moment. We might be taken off guard. So by naming it, can also give you time to figure out how are you going to craft your response. So that goes into the second part, which is statement. That's a way for you to be able to share with that individual why what they said was harmful, or how it could be harmful to other people, or how that can be ruined with the values of what you do. Okay. So that's a way for you to make it personal, to give some reasoning. So not just like, hey, stop it, but hey, stop it, here's why. Right? And the last part is that you say, and I really wish that you wouldn't say that around me. Now, utilizing this pretty tough scenario, am I saying that whatever they said will be completely erased from their lexicon? Maybe, right? But probably not, right? Think about words that you use to say that you're like, oh, I should say that. You try to learn to say that. It's a process, right? And so, but I will say that they will think twice before they say that word or phrase around you again, or in that space again, because you were able to actually call them in, explain to them about why it's not okay. It has to be something. I think that can be a really powerful thing. A lot more effective, I think, than saying like, hey, with it, right? Doesn't have that. The effects are, I think, very, very good. So I wanted to share with you about a really exciting upcoming event that we have here on campus at our team, and we're partnering with a lot of different offices on campus. And we're bringing Shane Windmeyer, who's the executive director of Campus Pride. Campus Pride is a leading 501c3 organization in the United States that provides resources and support in American colleges and universities. Their headquarters are actually located in Charlotte, North Carolina. So we have a really great resource here in our backyard. So he's going to tell us to give a speech from 5 to 6 p.m. on October 8th here in the Alexander Room. We want to encourage everyone to attend. Great. Both the faculty, staff, and students, but it would be really great for people to go there and to encourage folks that represent the technology that we can hear a lot about what we have to say. Here's what we talked about. A little bit about what I'm talking about, probably a lot more explicitly. And share a lot of resources during that stage. That's just for 5 to 6, but just an hour. So we want to encourage all of you to do that. Another event that we have coming up, we're collaborating with Olsen on Free Speech at the Inclusive Campus. We're having dialogues about difficult subjects and how to have that. So there's a QR code there. If you're interested in that, please go and see Olsen, or you can scan the QR code if you're interested in that. So that's taking place on September 14th. Also in the Alexander Room, also at 5 p.m. Kind of make it pretty good. Okay, so that is what I have. I want to open it up to see if anybody has comments, questions, concerns, anything about this topic that you'd like to talk about.
Yeah. So I guess last semester. I had we were class and, you know, I was asked if I was sober. And it doesn't occur to me, I guess, usually, when we go to report this, I'm gonna walk out of that class, I'm gonna talk like a friend or my sister, I'm gonna write. So how should we, I guess, get students out of that mindset of let me just follow the brain spot for and then go and
Sure. Well, first, the I'm sorry that hearing present to you, it doesn't sound like that was a really highlight of your day. But things like that are ways that you can report, right? And sometimes we just want to vent and get something off our chest, right? We're going to listen to what the professor told me, right? Sometimes that can be very therapeutic. Sometimes that gives you that form of restoration. I feel restored, right? Talked about it and good. And that's valid, right? If that's how you would like to respond to that, we're not going to mandate anybody to report it. But I think what our form can be really helpful for is we're trying to paint a really accurate picture of the biases that occur on campus. And so what we say, so maybe you don't want to do follow-up and again, you can choose that, and that's completely fine. Maybe you want to share it so that we can have it on our records and submit that at our, one of the big annual report at the end of the year. And I can include that, and their voice can be heard through that reporting document. But we're trying to get students to include the form if they want to, but ultimately it's a choice. And it does take time, right? It's not something that, the form is, I don't think it's too long, but it's not something that you would like necessarily finish in like a minute or so. Where it takes time for you to talk about what happened. So if you're wanting to process that with one of us, you are always welcome to come up to the student's office and we can talk through that. In the terms that you want to submit a form or not. Sometimes I've been known to the form of you have after they unloaded a lot of information on you. I don't have them retype all of that. So there's some other options that we can potentially utilize, but we would like to encourage folks to use the form as possible, but at the same time, we also understand if you don't wish to do that. Great question. Great question. Yeah.
So if you all hear something that you would consider criminal, do you all report that to Dean students or like a higher authority? And second question, with the I Belong survey, how do you all utilize that and like what?
Great question. So if a bias that has risen to a criminal level where it's considered a hate crime, that would go to UNCG police would probably do some follow up, and it would also probably be shared over with the Office of Student Rights Responsibilities. If it's something criminal, it probably does not align with our content. So there would be that process as well. And we would then be there to figure out, okay, who would qualify that, and our team would work for those who work on it. So that's does that answer your first question?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. And then the second question was, what do we do with the information of the I Belong survey? I would say the first part of that, right, was done in fall 2019. We formed a team as a result of that. That's pretty huge. So what happens at the next one? I don't know. It's kind of a wait and see. But I will say, and I don't know what that might look like. I'm jokingly trying to say, but we will be taking this seriously, and we will be using that data to inform our decisions. So let's say that on the survey we see that the percentage of students on campus who experience bias went from 45 to like 75%, right? You might look at that and say, whoa, what's happening on campus where students have a lower sense of campus climate on our campus? What might we do to work towards mending that? And what offices should we bring to the table to begin to have those discussions? Are there certain identities that are being targeted at a higher rate? Thinking about national right now, right? Colleges and universities are a microcosm of society, right? Since the COVID-19 epidemic has begun, right? We've seen a large rise nationally and internationally on Asian hate. And you've seen some articles about that. The amount of Asian hate that has risen after COVID is astronomical, right? And so what right now, what different groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center and the Anti-Defamation League have all been working on is, okay, what's happening and how can we best supporting folks through education advocacy. So I would say we would do something very similarly to some national organizations, but I don't have a concrete answer right now based on the data, but I am excited for us to be able to get that data so that we can begin to have it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your question. Yeah.
Or how do you draw a line of like suicidal rates go up, even though their diet is their diet, that are very for a person or individual. Because if I can do it, those are all they want. They're not receiving the pain. What action can actually take place for students? Because I completely agree, surveys in the past to be edited. Because then students so what. But how would we clarify the difference between hate speech, bias speech, and then where you don't want to physically involve someone in that in the workforce?
Yeah, great question. So the question is about the role of hate speech, bias speech, and how does that impact the work that we do, right? First, I would say that if there's somebody who is continuing to do hate speech against a marginalized community, or particularly for a certain person within that community, maybe inviting both of those people to the table is not in the best interest of everyone, right? So a lot of the things you look at, okay, what's the nature of the concern and what's the best way to support? Now, the role of hate speech. Is hate speech allowed? No, I hear yes. This is a point of a lot of confusion when I've done these presentations. Hate speech, so harmful, right? So we react to it in a myriad of different ways. Is considered protected speech under the Constitution of the First Amendment. Now, that right, I think up here saying that if I were to say a certain word to you about an identity that you have, is that legal? Yes, it's not risen to a criminal level. Is it okay to say? I would say no, right? But we have folks, I would imagine, here on campus who might utilize those words and might say that where harm is committed. So what we might do from that is we might work with the student or faculty or staff who are saying these words and try to educate them and utilize that as an opportunity to educate and provide resources. But in terms of hate speech being something that we now, if the hate speech is paired with, sometimes it gets a little nuanced. If the hate speech incites immediate violence or imminent threats, that is not considered free speech. Things like that, or yelling fire, theater, things like that, that's not considered free speech. So there are instances where we might work towards a resolution and we might not get the resolution that we want, right? But I would say that I would still report it, and that still is an opportunity to learn. I think that when we present other people with different forms of education, when we talk about why what they say is impactful to other people, it negatively impact their experiences here. I think that is playing the key. We might not change someone's beliefs in that one instance, but I would like to think that we're part of their journey. So I think that if given the opportunity to speak up and to try to engage somebody in conversation, and we think that people's safety is considered within that, then I would say always be able to let's use that as an opportunity. And we're not making the people who experience harm to do that learning to be part of that education. That's why we have folks like myself that share in that labor of educating. Thank you for that question. I really appreciate it. Yes.
What happens?
Great question. So we have students here that are consistently using different slurs, epithets, things like that. That's an opportunity for us to reach out to that student and to, again, kind of have that conversation with them about that. So that's something that, you know, if it is negatively impacting other student experiences here on campus, that's important to our students. We want to make sure that we have an opportunity to connect with students who are saying that. And so that could be responded to in a lot of different ways. I think one really unique thing about our team is that we're trying to do, and that while we have a lot of illustrating problems and procedures, we have a lot of opportunities to think about things in a different way. And really like the script on that. And so one thing that I think that our team can do to help with that is to, again, kind of call this in, try to employ some different educational techniques with that student, talk about the impact of what they're doing. Now, kind of like what I example when I was talking about the student stuff, will that necessarily erase that from their, you know, vocabulary? Maybe, but maybe it might be a part of a larger journey over just like a chapter. Does that answer your question? You can say no. I want to make sure that we. Gotcha. Removing a specific student, that's not within the scope of our team, but we can work to find who is harmed by that, and provide. Thank you. Yeah.
So as a governing body, what would be biased to, expect from educated representatives when it's doing something, it should be like, you know, passing along the form, or, you know, like, is there anything for representatives who will feel like, and for all of, have your, like, the core document of having a people representative on file? What would that be?
Great question. So, to answer your first question about, what we might do, you're right, UNC Greensboro is very different. And that's one of the reasons why I want to come and work here. And we want to make sure that all students on campus, no matter your identity, can live authentically here. So I hope that could be a charge to all of you, live authentically here on campus. We know that comes within the barriers based on all of our identities. So in terms of our expectations of all of you, it would be really helpful for you to share, because we're so new, to share our form and provide that as a resource. So it's not necessarily you saying, hey, you should do this, right? Think about it, someone says, you should do X, right? If someone says, you should do this to me, I'm probably not gonna do it. So what I do in my job, and what I think you can do as leaders on campus, is talk about the options. Right? I like to say that I'm a waiter in a restaurant and I'm going to give you the menu and I'm going to give you all the options available. Right? And totally the bias according to our those options. So I can highlight that as a special on the menu and encourage you if you're interested, maybe take a look at that. And I think that's a really great way that you can connect with other students on campus as student leaders. It's not to say you should do this, but rather to say, hey, have you heard about the reporting forum? You might think about doing that. And I think that can be a lot less disarming to students, and because it's giving them the autonomy to choose whether or not they want to support. I think that's a really great way to advocate for students by sharing the resources that we have. You know, there was a second part of the question. I'm totally forgot what I said.
So, I got towards
You know, you're the second person that brought that up, and that's not something that I have had conversations with yet, but we'll be bringing that to learn a little bit more about why we don't have to do the presentation and a little bit more about that. Now, some of it might, when we get reports about faculty and staff, but some of it might be as a result of confidentiality. But let me find out a little bit more about that. Yeah. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So wanting to learn a little bit more about our processes with corporate social justice and restorative justice for our practice. Yeah, so restorative justice at its root is a facilitated dialogue to try to attempt to restore the harm that was done. And so, when that can happen, we can have a facilitated conversation with a person who did the harm and a person who experienced the harm. Now, if I was an RA undergrad, I was ready by a lot of make mediation. So, and what you learn about mediation 101, is you have to have two things, right? You have to have all parties come to the table and work to the problem. So that's part of the way I would put justice is are the students who committed the harm and are the students who create the harm willing to all come to the table to talk. And I will say that that actually occurred in that frame, right after I got here. We were able to, we facilitated dialogue where we're able to center everybody at the table to talk about who was on where, we're able to ask questions, kind of explore the impact of what occurred and to work collaboratively with those who are at the table to determine how can we move forward. So we have someone who affirms what can happen, right? Maybe from the vendors that maybe their attitudes, their beliefs, their conduct might change in the future. Maybe they might look at that. Maybe not, right? But it's a way for us to facilitate the dialogue so that we're the ones that are able to, I would say, empathy by asking questions and allowing space for folks to share how this has impacted them. And so that everyone can at least feel heard at the end of that discussion. And then work collaboratively with those involved to work on next steps and how we move forward and how all of us might feel the story of whatever that is. And I will just a few questions. Very much. Yeah, other questions?
So, I,
Yeah, a lot of schools have them. I don't know which ones specifically in UNC system. I know NC State has a more established team that we were able to utilize some of their ideas. And it's something that schools and colleges and universities around the nation are beginning to develop. But I will say that I think that us here is really unique, but I don't think anybody else in the system has something like being hired to come in and this is really important. So I think that that's something that he was a great work in the house. Well, y'all, I really appreciate your time. I know that I'm coming here and talking to y'all about like my eyes of being at like 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night, and I really appreciate y'all staying with me, staying engaged, asking really great questions. So again, my name is Brian. I work on the health floor of the UBC up in the office. So if y'all have any questions or you want to come chat or you want to come learn more, please come see myself or one of my colleagues and know that we're always here to help and support you. And so with that, y'all can just again, quick. This is again how we are able to test our presentation and figure out what you're taking from this. So then we can use all of this information to guide our argument. But with that, I really appreciate you all. Y'all, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for us and our team. And thank you all. And thank you for the work.
So, I think
And again, I'm just gonna keep everything over there, so y'all take stickers, take the buttons, we have erasers, get it? And then we have different pamphlets, so please feel free to take all of that and spread around campus.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna have on, you know, some of the different things that, but, I just wanted to say, for this is very, very important to us. I know it may go not of something, not about the type of stuff, but like I said, it's very important. I like to emphasize that, like, these services all students. We also want to individuals, especially, and the rest of the students, so they're working on a thing, we have to take new homes, and that's for everybody. And when they're able to get into new life, and learn to our minds, we should actually utilize these. I think that means that person, we're not interested in whether it can be removed, there's still no making that to have conversations with somebody, to put on with somebody. And, you know, not how to think that person, you know, talk to somebody, have that conversation, have that information, they're gonna learn something. It's just very important for people that, like I said, well, we cannot remove anybody, we cannot, get rid of anybody, but of course, there are other departments, like parts of the university office, to take care of them, and interactions and all that. But it's just important to remember, like I said, that everybody has their own opinion, everybody has their own views, and we get in the first place. There's only, you know, there's that small that we can do what we do. I don't have a lot of,
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say, I just want to say thank you to everyone for asking questions. Just after Brian here, you know, we have a lot of resources here at UNCG. Just make sure we're relaying the resources we have, like I said, kind of like a mention, kind of like how to prepare this. You know, whenever or every year, advice or any business, that might fall into that category, please, like you said, what they expect of us is to help relate to things that university has, you know, without some resources. So we just need to highlight what we have. The other universities, like you said, don't really have a team and stuff to help us. Just really want to calm that down and make sure that you are revisiting the information presented. On top of the side, especially familiar themselves with like PhD, biases and the different criteria for that, you know, as representatives, you know, what we're relating to our. If you do have any other questions about what we said or anything about this, please feel free to reach out to me, and then we'll get over time.
yeah, okay, so now let's move forward, we got our first, like, okay. That's still, one, and at this time, we can do it on the. Okay, we're able to offer by range, and I can divide it on the, and anyone sponsored by range, so if it's starting to be the winner, I will allow her to take her part, which is to deliver on the line, so now we're going to. Making it to where instead of you have obstacles, so every time I'm going to do it, I have to.
Thank you. This piece of legislation, like she said, creating office hours for senators, with, average of 3 office hours per week. Obviously that can fluctuate depending on particular schedule. So if you already have like generally 3 hours a week designated time, but like, let's say, you know, if you need an hour off for this particular thing, you know, we can make things like that. But the intention is to make our, university, or make our transparency generally just better, so that these things are on the website, so that students know who they need to reach out to, for particular issues. So like, if I'm having an issue with housing, I know who I need to be reaching out to and when I can talk to them and things like that. But yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Okay. Okay, so we start with section 1, that the Student Senate of UNC Greensboro Student the Student Senate, we'll fix that. The Student Senate of UNC Greensboro adopts the following bills that whereas the responsibility of each senator is to the student body and their designated constituency, and whereas there's an expectation and requirement for members of the legislative board, executive board, and executive council to hold regular office hours, and whereas greater transparency of SGA's membership, responsibilities, and affairs is a pillar of the Mangesha Crenshaw administration. It is a good and necessary adoption for members of the UNCG Student Government Senate to hold regular office hours, and now therefore be it enacted or resolved that upon passage of this legislation, the Student Government Association North Carolina shall update their standard operating procedures to extend the duties, powers, and responsibilities of every senator to include 3 office hours per week. And then this will be effective upon, so.
Thank you, LaShonda. And this is the first, reading that we want to do it and vote today. We're gonna read it next time, the next meeting. But, at this time, we'll have a Bible series, questioning. So if you have any questions about why LaShonda wrote this, or what it's supposed to do, to put the time with the factors, during the day, and not really. Have the senators, the senators who apply, they told them that this would be a requirement for them, they didn't know about that would get to your requirement. So when they sworn in, I mean.
I'm trying to.
Can I have someone yield their time to me real quick? Perfect, thank you. So, no, this is not a requirement, that has been, it's spelled out to them yet. But, I think the idea is that when you become a senator, the expectation is that you're also working for your constituency outside of your designated time, so like, if you're only working for SGA when you're in these meetings, you're probably not doing it right, no, this not has been explicitly stated to them. But I think it's a general expectation, like if you're going to take on any kind of role as far as student leadership, I feel like this is the absolute minimum amount of hours that any role would kind of commit to. So we're not asking you to do more than what is already expected. We expect you to do what we've always expected you to do. Just tell us what you're doing, or like when you're specifically doing it. Any other questions?
I guess my question was, how are we logging these, or keeping track of these hours?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the expectation is not that people will be in the SJ office when they do them. The idea is that once we publish more about who our senators are on our website and our social media, that people can know, when to reach out to them. So that they know like, oh, I'll be available during this time for meetings, or I'll be available, so. We're not expecting you so if no one has scheduled meetings with you, or no one has, then you don't have to really be doing it, so like you could be doing other things outside of this time, if that's not spelled out. But we just want to make sure that particularly students know, okay, this person is available for me during this time and I can meet them here. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, why not? Yeah, they can definitely be held on Zoom. That sounds great. That would also help, especially students who are off campus or commute. Absolutely.
And just to build on the Zoom thing, I was wondering if you would want to, just to build on the Zoom thing, I was talking with LaShonda up in the SBA office earlier today, and I hold as finance chair, I hold my office hours by Zoom appointment, and that is fine as well. I don't have a set time. If somebody wants to speak with me, they can email me, and if they want to meet me. Via Zoom or in person, they can set up a time to do so. But I don't hold that, like, I'm going to be available at this time, because that's not feasible for me.
For the active with students but, yeah, not, but basically, I think the motion is that the answer is and bars, the office hours, and the record, all the way stuff, off hours, everybody, all the kids know, they can do not somebody, not something, be a lot, or anything, for all taking call, and they're coming up, like, oh, we have this, okay, another senator, on the face side on it, then they, like, I know, very cute. Okay, so now we're gonna do a maybe some quick board, first, we'll have,
Are they up here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, they're already on the side. Okay.
All right, so, first, I just want to apologize that I wasn't here for the first one. It was bad, but I had but hopefully we're. This week, you want to, push it up to the, actually, director introduced that to the health center. We did the director drop into the representative on, committee proposal summit. So they're going here for, the person is taking really excited to see what the director is. Mostly can't, all of them, they have, maybe work our, diversity and how to the way that they work. We had, campus partners cookout, that was amazing, thanks for, and helped out. Your team did amazing too, here, but yeah, we should give it a round of applause. Yeah, your team did a good job, documenting all that, that picture of the top of that was fire, okay? And then, if y'all don't know, most of the pictures, all the pictures are in the drive, I don't know if you guys, if you're at any event, going to the drive. We got the pictures, so, I wanted to use the volleyball, my first volleyball game, my 50, but pretty intense in school. We actually flew 2 over league, so that was like, y'all can go out there and do our sports. This year we're really trying to collaborate with athletics. And so not only think about basketball, but all of our athletics. I'm really trying to talk to your athletes that are like as well. I'm really setting up some meetings with administration, especially with my cabinet, the level of one-on-one with the vice chancellor, any people who are probably setting, I would encourage y'all to schedule one-on-one. College, I don't think we're that last thing. Line school, really good opportunity to conversation with them. And then basically just getting settled in, I'm kind of pretty active. This now, for office hours, so I bought appointment, I'm really available also. My number, coming up, we got the blood doc tomorrow. I want to say shout out first to not here, but it's out there. But a lot of good stuff, especially with the blood drive. This is our second time collaborating with the ECC on the blood drive. Last year we had an 80% out, 52,000. So we want to do the same thing this year. If you apply to volunteer, please make sure you go to cancel up with what you know. We're really excited about that. For the council meeting, myself, Kaylee, Aaron, and then Baker Cabinet on Thursday. We'll be planning out our issue groups. We have one coming up that's great in the month of September, so we got for that. And then I think there's environmental affairs, and that's just been vacant, but I actually have the process. Over to this, that was still, there's actually Green Club and Sean, who is part of the thing. We're actually, we want to actually come in and talk talk with about more of the funding that needs to be done, grant, and of course, we have projects about to take to, so we want to have that position. With the rate of sales.
Could they partner with us to help pay that person? Okay,
Okay, I mean, we pay, I mean, I don't know, for right now, the answer no, I don't. We pay all of our. What happened?
okay.
And then setting up one. I have a meeting with Dr. Aiken on Thursday. Dr. Aiken is our vice president there. She will be coming to it. Really good for her. And then I have a meeting with Dr. Secretary, staff of the CSA on how we collaborate. And they want to actually post a mental health program. So they want our help on that. And so basically that's all in the association bodies. Really big event that we work with this time, so we're working that out. I ended up picking with you on my account. You've never been to Gankry with the term, oh my God, it's Gankry, this is spot, y'all want some of the late night. If you see the game, if you put it in, I don't know if y'all been there, but I've been in there, you know, trying to get my mind. Y'all play, we can play. But, Coach, I, like I said, I wanted to take your, I just wanted to take, having to do out here, but you go on our SBA website here, it's resource tab now. So, I haven't checked with the buyers, it should be up there, but there's a whole bunch of resources. If you go on our SBA page, so if you ever have any trouble, any place, you really don't know where to take them, show them their page, whatever, provide yourself with the resources out there, with the better build information. Like I said, with the artists for the pictures, and elections, I don't in the year, but elections is great. Who was sending with the type of how to accept it. Yeah, that's another round I want. Yeah, so I just want to thank any for that, you know, maybe, and I've seen some people are some candidates are able to that, so that's really cool if you want to have that interactive part of the election program. And then the initiative tracker looks great with on as well. I can see some logs in there. So make sure if you all are doing anything on the SBA that you have many experts. It's not the document, initiative tracker. And then one thing I just want to say, I want to promote the collaboration aspect of SBA. A lot of the ideas that you may have are other ideas that other campus partners might have as well. So I think it's great to reach out to different, you know, resources of different teams on campus to express well, whether it's by whether it's whoever out in the rest of the but it is focus on collaboration this year, even among each other. Just because we're and collaborative. Rolling on for like the rest of the year, think about ideas and try to move it collaboratively on. That way, that you have a more prominent leader on the campus and a greater. That's it from my report. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I think.
Now move on to a, okay, so with the director, so we've got Chris out, and the police are basically saying now, I don't know, we got kind of, we're here in Congress, meeting, supervising for the director of, and Congress, and also, you know, there is last week, most of the governor, okay, and then basically, first job, that, putting over the team, the other job, that, we have a lot of aid for me to take, and then, so also, he was, you know, for a whole council, or, so, lots of that. And her report is possible to wait totally for the future while she is the response to these things. Okay, so I posted the big regard on so I put that up the first. So what I'm gonna do, the company was meeting, not really, because you know, I have to take a review, clarify on the right of hearing. Hopefully that will happen soon. I went to a volunteer for the time for today. It was really good, all right. It was great. And that's a little bit right here. How many, those are my 60, but those are also my Thursday and all the way for this room. So I went to all the tables and also thought to recipe camp, anybody who's like to subscribe for them, we do it for them. I'll be going around telling everybody on Wednesday, we need to like do volunteer. So yeah, so that's, I got some great paperwork, information on that, so I'll be making that to everybody. And then I have lots of community, we're looking at that work with educate, I'm telling you every day, every single time I go in there, there's trying to keep people educated and collaborate with them, because I know they're trying to be part of their organization, and so, you know, keep getting that together. Anxiety is my president, question, so we need to question, but also. Fall elections, that will very like concept, we're gonna have a full thing going, we realize that all these areas are going to be full, right? So many different schools, we need to be prepared and ready because it's not big, and then that's the plan, you know, this is that. I went to a meeting with some called yesterday, it was really good, and the office hours are like, well, that's fun. I can do it. The office hours are Thursday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So I have my little office in the office. If I'm not in there, please show that to the email me and do I can do another time. But I'm planning to get it those times. Today I have my office open. So that was really fun. Okay, so now the next thing coming up is the evening workshop, which is tomorrow. I feel our name on the list, I'm so excited for that. Yes, it's so out. And then the company coming up, let's report and questions. And then I just want to look at the other day, because we have really coming up, y'all, you see, you got to check your last, you know, first time, everybody's part of it. So yeah, I think really, going off that office about the city, I will be having, the meetings with my rec person, I haven't started like, when I was in, I don't get all my chairs and everything like that, we're going to be, this whole, checking everybody, we're, getting into the meeting. And then another thing also, going off of the Sean team, when I did have, make a form, not form, but like a document, it's everybody, everybody, hours, and then you post that instead of sometimes everybody needs to do something. Just have one document and then go to the office, and I'll look on the website. So yeah, and then shout out to the department, they do a great job, thank you for a great job. Yeah, it's good work. Okay, this time, your form, anything that they can for and this time on anyone, so start an announcement, or you say, since I'm in terms of share, I have a take from 177 from 11 to 140. So the email is on okay, so also take that in the new so take that in the new too, where everybody knows, if you can come over with savings, you can do that. Very important, sometimes everybody has to say. So please, you are know. Thank you.
I was like gonna comment on what Haas said about collaborating with other organizations. I'm in RHA and I know their advisor and everything. It's a very small organization, so like if you want to do anything with residents housing, like, contact me too, or like let me know. Yeah.
So far, we reached out to. Yeah, we got the one, we're already.
I just, so I know I reached out to things, but I didn't know, share what superior authority was, to like, our new.
The Superior Court basically are the Supreme Court, activities, cases outside of the Senate voting out. We have 6 members, 3 are from Senate, when they're on arm, and then 3 are from Congress. Should have that pretty open definitely for them to, entertain programs. That is,
No, I just wanted to, I had reached out to Mara personally, but I didn't think it other, like, the newer members.
Yeah, so if you're interested in going back, it's not really that. Like I said, I only have the schools and I have the principals or, you know, other people in first and two of these, like, that's what we do that. Very important, yeah. Anybody else? Sorry. So like, sorry. Oh, I forgot to add that, Grace, our secretary, don't do on the state, it's like, that offer, we're gonna do when the six paper, stuff, that we will help with that, it's gonna be like at the end of September. Okay. Also, we have a calendar in the drive, so if you have anything you're planning to do or that you can work, we can go to that calendar, put it on there so that all of us can see it, together. And then,
Yeah, so I have a friend, Ayana Shalula, she's, works in the OIE office, I think Lashana spoke with her, but, it's the, Intercultural Leadership Council, so basically, they're just getting organizations, so if anybody knows any like other organizations that's interested in getting involved, yeah, they just, they're assisting in educating like UNCG community and stuff like that on, issues of cultural awareness, diversity, and celebrating heritage and stuff like that. So if any of y'all know any groups or want to get involved in any of that, just come to me and I can help you out, or the shop.
thanks for doing that, yeah, we're trying to like, you guys. So we like to. Yeah, so I got an email today that like everyone in SGA is all of the things that they want to apply to change towards the past year something. It is just for working with, and leadership. The information is on Instagram.
No, I don't have a question. I'm just reacting off what you were talking about. It's actually really easy to find the application. I submitted mine this past Sunday. And it's not, I filled it out and completed all the parts in a day, so it's really not that hard. It was great. So please, we would all be great.
Okay, now, any,
So it's like picking off of, about the ILC, student organizations who, participate can receive up to $100 per semester. So if you have a struggling, student organization that you're like, yeah, we need that extra $100 per semester, then that's also a great reason to join.
that is a great for girls, who need money, the workers. So please, you know, like, the fraternity, sorority, union, so their HDA allocations cannot, give all the money to them, so yes, that's fair, $100 a month. Anybody else, anything else? Move on. Okay, now I'm gonna do this roll call.
Wednesday, I would say Wednesday starting next week. Possibly next week.
That, you still want to say something?
All right. It can always go in the chat if necessary, in the group chat later on if necessary.
Yeah, back in the group chat, we know the amount, bringing them in, well, on.
Margaret,
Sophomore senator.
Dana Bailey. Lauren Wanda.
Transfer student senator president.
Nathan Simon, Brian. Margaret O'Connor.
College Visual and Performing Arts Center president.
And I'm like, I was totally nice. Please, they use that factors or standards to make motions. You don't have to necessarily make it before you say a motion, but just use that, if you don't have any motion, but that's something. Okay, but I'm
That's the last one.
okay, I didn't, I thought, okay, we'll be adjourned now, maybe it's 8:28. Yeah.
I got a question.